If you've been seeing a lot of content lately about DreamCon and you're wondering if it's even worth your while, I wanted to share my experience. It was my first time going, my first DreamCon, my first convention, and I'm gonna break it all down for you to see if that will be the move for you next year. DreamCon 2027, let's go, Daddy! So let's get started. The first question you might have is, should you go to DreamCon? And the answer is going to depend on what you are expecting to get, whether that's community, whether that's content, whether that's a feeling of collaboration with other cosplayers, content creators, artists. Because DreamCon is not just people dressing up. I realized really quickly there is a lot of other things to do while there. So there was a sports tournament going on one of the days. A car show was available if you wanted to check that out. There are rows and rows and rows upon rows of vendors and artists selling their merch, selling their art. And I actually partook a little bit because your girl was jiggly fast. So these are the stickers that I got from some of the booths there. There were card tournaments, there were gaming tournaments, there were meet and greets. There was like this music superstar search that was going on. What I believe was also a voice acting competition or some kind of casting call that was happening live on stage on one of the days. Even if you weren't picked from the batch to move on to the next, whatever the opportunity was, you still have exposure. So besides all of the cosplay and costumes and people in their own little sects like the DC universe, the Mario Brothers world, and Pokemon. And I think that is a great opportunity, again, to network, to be inspired, to be encouraged to keep doing what you love to do. The next really important question: is it worth the money?
I wanna spend my life savings on this.
So I'll break it down very bluntly. If you don't already live in the state or driving distance away from a convention, specifically DreamCon, which has been hosted in Texas, I think, for the majority of its existence, then you may be reaching a total price for this experience of about $1,000 from what I've seen online for people traveling cross country. Because you have to consider the tickets that you're getting for DreamCon is little over 150 if you're doing the 3-day weekend. One day out of those three would definitely be more cost efficient, which is what I did. I only showed up for that Saturday. Then you need to figure out your hotel or Airbnb that may range between $200 to $500 depending on where you're staying. So whether you're opting to go with the hotels that the DreamCon actually suggests in the area, or you find your own spot in an Airbnb nearby, that again will vary based on what you decide. And then you also have to consider food. Now there is food in the convention, and the pizza we got with drinks and then I think chips was around $20, which isn't too bad. But if you're going to eat 3 times a day, take that into account as you are planning for this trip, because you definitely want to eat and stay energized. That is one thing I am pretty disappointed in myself for not doing. We barely had a breakfast before we got there, and the amount of steps, the amount of walking it took for us to get from point A to point B, depending on what we wanted to do that day, it was a lot. And you need energy to do that. You need energy and you need water. You need to stay hydrated because it is Texas and it is the summer. So you want to definitely have either a backpack to hold snacks, food, water, electrolytes, something to keep your body physically capable to navigate this event. Transportation around Houston at that time was not too bad either. Our Airbnb was a few miles away from the convention, so it was around $10 to $20 depending on pickup time and availability and comfortability level that you wanted to be picked up in. So those are also things you should keep in mind, is transportation once you actually get there, especially if you're taking a flight and coming from the airport to Airbnb and you don't have a rental car. So all those things are adding up. Not to even mention the cosplay itself. So this outfit is what I wore to DreamCon. I had my little purse to let them know that I am Jigglypuff from Pokemon. I had a little marker and I had my actual streaming mic to accompany the marker to make it obvious that I was Jigglypuff. These I already had at home. but the outfit itself was around $50-ish, and that was just doing a Jigglypuff inspired outfit. I had 4 failed iterations of this outfit before we got to this, but if you yourself are creating this intricate outfit, I know that's going to add up. Start saving now. DreamCon is a whole year away. You can put away maybe $100 a month to the side and still have a little left over by the time it's time to get the tickets, the hotel, and all the other things we just discussed in place for you to join us at DreamCon next year. Now, I went over the cost of DreamCon, but now it's to talk about whether is all of this worth the money. And for me, yes. I brought so much back with me than I expected. Between seeing all of the artists and the vendors and the panels, the experience alone was worth that to me. I left feeling there less alone. I felt feeling there less judgment, even though that was sort of its own world. And coming back to reality, I still felt like I could carry myself in a way that I hadn't before. And if you're someone who enjoys fandoms and creativity and anime communities, this is definitely the space for you, and you'll be surrounded by others who feel the same. The passion and the energy and the details, the level of details that some of these cosplayers put into their own experience and came to DreamCon with was something I have not seen before. And I don't know if I'm exaggerating, but there were thousands of people there. 45,000 people attended DreamCon from July 10th to the 12th of this year. That is wild. If you're tired of watching anime by yourself or talking about anime to your very small circle of friends, I would highly recommend you start saving those pennies so you can join us next year. Now, here's a question. If you're really new to this community, I totally understand. Would you fit in if you're new to cosplay? And the answer to that is surprisingly yes. Walking around DreamCon, it never dawned on me that, oh, this person didn't put enough effort. I knew in my heart of hearts that I showed up in the best way that I could. And if you put together a cosplay for the first time, or you're nervous to dress up, or you've put your heart and soul and foot in making this cosplay come together, that's all you need. No one is there judging you unless you go into the cosplay contest. Then there's a little judging there because there has to be a winner. But there is such a welcoming feeling that there shouldn't ever be a thought that anyone needs to be perfect. Some of these outfits were handcrafted, stitched from scratch, whereas this one was not. But I didn't feel that that made me any less of a cosplayer than the next person. Unless, again, I was going into a contest where that might be required. There were some people in robes. There were some people that didn't even have a shirt on. It was just a space for us to exist, truly. For us to either dress up or for us to walk amongst others who understand us without even having to have a conversation. I think that's what really it came down to for me is at the end of the day, it felt like there wasn't really one right way to participate. And it reminded me that cosplay is really just about celebrating these characters or these stories that has affected you in some way or another. And you don't have to explain that. I didn't have to tell someone why I was Jigglypuff. I just showed up and I enjoyed the experience for what it was, which was cosplaying and being around others who enjoyed that too. Now that we've talked about, should you go to DreamCon? If so, how much is it going to cost? If so, how will I fit in? How will I feel? I want to talk about how one prepares themselves for DreamCon and what I would have changed for the next experience, knowing what I know now. So right after I locked in my ticket to DreamCon, I started to search and I started to scroll everything and anything DreamCon to make sure I could get as many tips and tricks up my sleeve to take with me on the way there and while I was there. So a lot of the content with tips were jokingly saying, please bring deodorant, which is funny, yes, be hygienic as possible, which is sort of a given. But I guess in a space like that where you are walking around a lot, you definitely want to either bring deodorant, wet wipes so you can freshen up. A water bottle was great advice. They do have hydration stations, or should I just say hydrate? The amount of water I missed out on because I forgot my water bottle at home, which would have went with my outfit, but then I would have had too much to carry. So that's another thing. Bringing a small backpack instead of this loose little purse would have been ideal, so that I didn't have to keep up with this and fidget with it and have it sort of distract me from things that were going on around me. And I missed out on buying one when we actually came across one of the vendors who were selling these really cute mini backpacks. So hopefully I can find them online and I can get one for my next side quest adventures. If there are certain other tips and tricks you're looking for, literally, I'm sure YouTube, TikTok, and Instagram will be the best places to find other creators talking about their experience from the past 5 to 6 years that this has been happening. And they can definitely go into a lot of detail than I can, as this was my first. So last but not least, what do you get out of going to DreamCon? What is the takeaway? So I thought I was going to DreamCon to check off an experience off of my bucket list as a Black BIPOC creator / artist. But I left with a lot more than that. I think for me, there was this takeaway of, I don't need permission or a certificate or some kind of an award that tells me that I am X, Y, and Z. So if you've been following me on my channel for a few years now, you'll notice that a lot of my content has centered around singing and music. And I thought that sort of niching myself down to being a singer, songwriter was the one and only goal to grow. But I was mixing in cosplaying for no other reason other than I wanted to, and without anyone asking me to. It was just something that I like to do. I really feel that after this DreamCon experience, I felt inspired by those who are, if you're pursuing music, pursue it. You are a musician, you are an artist. If you're painting and you want to share your art, you're a painter, you're an artist. If you're creating content and you truly want to move in the world as a content creator, be that. You are that. You don't have to make a living off of your hobbies. You don't have to have recognition of any kind. You don't even have to have followers to be who and what you want to be. You just have to feel your most authentic self when you do what it is you do. So if you've been on the fence about DreamCon, and I really hope those who I have associated myself with over the last few years is watching this, and you can come join me next year, it's gonna be big. I mean, I feel like it can only go up from here. And if I haven't made it clear already, I'd absolutely recommend it. You might leave with great pictures and great videos for memory keepsakes, or you might leave seeing yourself in a completely different light than when you first arrived. Thank you for watching. Now, for those of you who have been here a while, this is my new background setup, and I am so thankful it has come together. And it's so funny because I'm going to be moving out again, so we're gonna have to recreate this in whatever living situation I find myself in the next couple months. But the reason it's so great to have is because I finally have a setup where I really don't have an excuse not to make content. So you'll be seeing a lot more of me, and not only am I going hard in my music pursuits, I am also going to be doing a lot more cosplays. And I already have something lined up for next month. So I will see you hopefully before then, but if not, I'll see you then. So the only panel I showed up to was not YouTube famous Step the Con. We did this really cool routine, which I swear I got down at some point, and I will show that here. I have proof. it down. See you on the next one.